Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/EntitledParents Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, entitled Mom and Entitled Kid at a Trampoline Park. After that, Entitled Kid calls Entitled Mom on us for watching PewDiePie. After that, he waited in line for this ridiculous flex. After that, for the second time this month, I'm mistaken for a hotel employee. And after that, sit around with no job for 3 years and cause me to lose my home? Enjoy thousands of dollars of debt and losing your home. Now, Karen promised me if this video gets 1,000 likes, she won't try to get anybody fired for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And huge thank you to Ashley for supporting the channel on Patreon. Entitled Mom and Entitled Kid at a Trampoline Park. For a bit of backstory, at the time I was about 10. This was a few years back, but I still remember the events clearly, and also sorry for the length. I was about a month out of a wheelchair from some complications of medications and was trying hard to be my usual self. There was a local kids' indoor play area with a few trampolines, an airbag, I think that's what it's called, and an assault course. At this point, it was just me, my mother, and some other kids playing. It was a bit of a mistake going, but oh well. The cast. We've got me. We've got my mom. We've got the supervisor guy. We've got Entitled Kid, and we've got Entitled Mom. Me, literally stepping off the trampoline onto the airbag to avoid pain. Mom, sitting on the benches with a couple of other parents supervising. Disclaimer. Any kid, no matter the age, has to be supervised at all times. Entitled Mom obviously was not there. One person on airbag at all times for obvious reasons. Not really much dialogue, but anyways. Me, crawling along the airbag to get off. Entitled Kid, cannonballs. Me, goes flying and injures myself slightly, meaning not being able to move for a few seconds, then being in pain for a couple more minutes. Goes over to my mom in pain and tell her what happened. I managed to brave it and go again, making sure this kid can't get near me. All is good for the next few minutes and everyone is jumping peacefully, but then re-enter Entitled Kid. This kid cannonballs onto the airbag, sending one kid hurtling through the air and landing in the gap between the airbag and the netting. This was pretty scary because poor guy was sinking and had to have multiple people pull him out. Entitled Kid has no human response to the situation he just caused. By this time, the other parents are getting annoyed and are taking their kids away, but not before Entitled Kid pulls this trick a few more times. Finally, it's just me and Entitled Kid, and I stepped off. As I was near the end and think I am in the all clear, Entitled Kid has to jump again, causing me to smack my legs onto the metal bar covering the side to get out. Cue serious pain. Mom rushes over to come pick me up, as I cannot physically move at this point. My legs and back are in that much pain. Me. Mom, I can't breathe. It hurts too much. Entitled Kid, still bouncing around like nothing has ever happened. Mom. Now, my mother is a pretty relaxed person, but this had her angry, but somehow managed to keep some level of cool. Mom, about 8 meters away from this kid and through fencing. Do not ever do that again. You injured my kid and trapped many others. Please read the rules and be respectful. My mother glances over at security guard for reassurance and gets a nod of approval. Entitled Kid. This kid who's probably 11 or 12 runs off crying because he just got confronted about his behavior. About 10 minutes pass and Entitled Kid comes back up to the trampolines. His family were sitting down the stairs. Mom. Are you okay now? Entitled Kid. Yes, I'm sorry. We thought this was the end of it, as Entitled Kid was now being respectful and we were all getting along nicely. Mom. Do you want a hot chocolate? Me. Yes, please. Off we slowly go down the stairs. This took about 5 minutes to 3 flight as we had to take it step by step. As we start walking towards the queue, enter Entitled Mom. Sorry if I offend anyone, but for context, her eyebrows looked like overweight caterpillars trying to mate. Entitled Mom. Are you the woman that screamed at my darling angel's face? Mom: If I am who you are talking about, then I politely told him to follow the safety rules so everyone is happy. Your son just did not know decent respect. How dare you talk about my angel like that? You made him cry. Mom, fuming: My daughter has just come out of a wheelchair, and your son injured her and many other kids, and you were not there supervising him. Entitled Mom: I'm gonna get the manager to get you both kicked out. Typical Karen. Mom: Let's go and get that hot chocolate I promised you. Mom walks towards the queue. 10-year-old me: How dare you speak to my mother like that? I know, stupid of me, but I just couldn't let this woman win. Entitled Mom: Sweetie, your mother was in the wrong by shouting in my darling's face. Me: You and your son are in the wrong because you forgot to teach him basic human decency and believe he can do no wrong when he is just a spoiled brat. How can you live with that? Mom realizes I am going off on one at this woman and respectfully pulls me towards the line. Just realized how long this is, so to cut things short, we are still berating this woman about her eyebrows and stuff like that. But guess who was in front of us in the queue? Entitled Mom's husband/boyfriend. Nice guy, didn't say anything apart from look ashamed. I hope he broke up with her and found a decent human being. As for Entitled Mom and Entitled Kid, I saw them walking out about 2 minutes later, and me and Mom just burst out laughing. I know the formatting is rubbish, but I cannot be bothered to correct it as it is late and I want to sleep. Sorry if you have managed to read this far, and I hope I get featured on a video. Next we've got Entitled Kid calls Entitled Mom on us for watching PewDiePie. My siblings and I are homeschooled, and we go to a Christian apologetics class every Friday. Since my mom is friends with most of the parents, and my brother is friends with most of the kids in that class, we decided to have them over for lunch on Wednesday. All told, about 12 kids showed up with their parents. The kids, including me, despite being a teen, had the backyard, the den, and the playroom to hang out in, while the adults had the kitchen and the living room. The backyard has a swing, a huge tree, toys, and 2 playhouses. The den has a 42-inch TV that was playing some kid's movie, not to mention several boxes filled with toys. While the den and the living room are downstairs, the playroom is upstairs. The playroom also has a large plasma TV and some toys. The only difference between the playroom and the den was that the kids had set the playroom up like a movie theater, snacks, drinks, rows of seats, etc., so that they could watch a movie. However, after a while, the younger kids left, leaving the older kids in the playroom. Now onto the story. After everyone had lunch, I went upstairs to check on the older kids, who I hadn't seen in half an hour. Once I get there, I noticed that they were watching PewDiePie while my little brother battled his Beyblades with 2 of his friends on the other side of the room. I love PewDiePie, and I usually find a quiet time of day to watch his videos so that I'm not interrupted. So watching this video with a bunch of tired kids was ideal. I sat down and all was fine and dandy until the entitled kid showed up. He seemed nice and wasn't much of a hassle before, but seeing us watching PewDiePie triggered something in him. He started demanding that we took PewDiePie off the screen because his mom didn't let him watch that. Now, there were 6 kids, including me, watching PewDiePie, and none of us had cared that he had cursed twice in the 6 minutes of the video that we had watched. But to Entitled Kid, this seemed like a reason to get upset with us. The thing is, Entitled Kid had just walked in. He didn't know what PewDiePie was saying, and he had never heard him curse, but he just didn't want us watching something that he was not allowed to watch. He could have gone to the den, or the backyard, or the living room, or even to the other side of the room, but he decided that he wanted to be there at that exact moment. Not wanting to be bothered by an annoying brat, all of the older kids just ignored him and continued watching the video. Of course, this did not please Entitled Kid, so he climbed onto the TV stand and put his arms out as if to block the TV. Annoyed, I sternly told Entitled Kid to get down because it was dangerous and we were trying to watch. I'm pretty tall and have a permanent mad face, so he immediately did as I said in fear that I would hurt him. I would never do anything like that, but he was still a little intimidated. After about 30 seconds, he grabs a chair, put it in front of the TV, and stood on it. All of the older kids were starting to get pretty mad, so I told him to get down again. He got down, but it was only to climb back onto the TV stand. I had to threaten him with calling the adults at this point, something that I later regretted because that is where he got the brilliant idea of calling Entitled Mom on us. He went downstairs, and about a minute and a half later, he came back with Entitled Mom. Here's how the conversation went, to the best of my recollection. Entitled Mom: "What's going on in here?" Entitled Kid: "They're watching PewDiePie." Older Kid 1: "We're just watching a video." "He's not allowed to watch that. That is an inappropriate video." Pewds was ranking Minecraft mobs. Me: "It's really not." Older Kid 2: "And we told Entitled Kid that he doesn't have to watch it if he doesn't want to." Me: "Yeah, we have a TV downstairs." "No, he should be allowed to be up here, and he wants to play with his friends." My brother: "You need to take this off." Older kids groan and sigh. At this point, I was bewildered that this entitled mom had reasoned that forcing an entire group of kids to stop watching a video so that her son could be where he wanted to be at the time of his choosing, that I turned off the TV and left. I feel bad for leaving the other older kids behind. I thought I could have invited them into my room to finish the video on my computer, but I know Entitled Kid would just have found his way in there and forced us to take it off. All in all, it was an annoying experience and a win for the entitled moms and entitled kids. Next we've got, he waited in line for this ridiculous flex. I'm an author on a book tour. I'm in a big chain bookstore, sitting at a table with a stack of my books in front of me and beside a 7-foot-tall reproduction of my book cover. I'm chatting with someone while signing their book, and there are 3 people in line behind them. It's my first book, so 3 people in line is huge for me. I'm enjoying the heck out of it, and I'm working my hardest to make sure everyone is having a great time. And they mostly are. Mostly. I start to pick up an impatient vibe from the man at the end of the line. He's kind of huffy, looking around a lot, and keeps trying to make eye contact with me as I'm writing a somewhat lengthy dedication for the person at the front. The front person asks if we can take a photo together. I say of course, because I am so not used to anyone wanting to take a picture with me, and I'm totally an attention hog. This really sets Grumpy Man off. "Really?" he barks. I'm trying my best to not be mad at Grumpy Man because he's in a line to buy my book. Maybe he's had an awful day. Maybe he's late for dinner. Maybe his parking meter ran out 5 minutes ago and he has so many parking tickets that they'll tow his car. Who knows? So I ask the other people in line if it's okay for this gentleman to jump ahead since he seems to be pressed for time, and everyone is cool with it. I motion for him to come on up. He plops a bag down on the signing table, pulls out 3 copies of Geddy Lee's Big Book of Bass, and says, "I need to return these." Oh no. I put on my best apologetic smile. "I'm so sorry for the confusion," I say, gesturing at my stack of books and the giant sign beside me. "I'm the author of this book, and I'm here to sign copies of it today." "Do I look like I care? I need to return these," he shouts. "For sure, I get that," I say. "I just don't know how I can help you." "I don't work here. I'm just visiting this store to sign my book." I point towards the cash desk about 20 feet away and say, "I'm sure that the awesome people who work at this store will be happy to help you." "I stood in this line. I need you to help me," he snaps. I'm pretty convinced that he's not listening to me. "I'm so sorry about that confusion. It makes sense. There was a line of people. You figured it was a line for the cash, and you stood in it. But it turns out it was a line to get my autograph. The good news is that there's no line at the cash." I point again towards the actual cash. The other people in line are having a great time watching this show, and a few people have come creeping over from the coffee shop attached to the bookstore to get a better view. "Cut out this author bullcrap. shouts Grumpy Man, "and get me your manager." I stand up very slowly. I pick up a copy of my book from the stack and flip to the About the Author page. I hold it up beside my face and make the same smirking grin that I'm wearing in the headshot printed in the book. This visual aid seems to have worked because Grumpy Man grabbed his 3 copies of Geddy Lee's Big Book of Bass and Kid and stomped his way over to the actual cache. Postscript. I wrote, "Cut out this author bullcrap and get me your manager," below my signature for the people who witnessed this absurd event. Next we've got, for the second time this month, I'm mistaken for a hotel employee. I work in a large office complex that is attached to a large hotel. As I was going on my daily walk to get away from my small office, I walked through the hotel lobby. I had my headphones on. As I pass the registration desk, a woman stops me and asks for help with her luggage. I pulled out a headphone and nicely pointed her to the desk. Me. "Yes, ma'am. You can ask one of them to help you." Karen. "I'm in a rush, and seeing as you're not helping anyone else, you can help me." She flings her suitcase handle in my direction somewhat roughly, and I don't grab a hold, so it falls to the floor. It's a hotel lobby, so it's loud. Karen. "Are you crazy?" Me. "No, ma'am, and I also don't work here." At that point, an employee, dressed in a hotel business uniform, slacks, Oxford, blazer, and hotel name, versus I, who am dressed in a dress and heels with a different company employee badge hanging off my belt, jogs up to us to see what's going on. Karen. "Your employee refused to help me and threw my luggage down to the ground." Worker, not a manager. "Ma'am, this lady doesn't work here, but I'd be happy to help you with your luggage." I start to walk off because even though I'm upset, I know the situation is handled. But no. Karen raises her voice loudly about how she has never been treated this way and expects more from this hotel. And she's a rewards member with a zillion points or whatever. I hear her screeches fade away as I'm walking away from the lobby into the next tower. I honestly don't know what made Karen think I worked there. There were dozens of people in that lobby. On my way back through the lobby to head back to my office, the employee with her manager spotted me and apologized for the scene. They asked me if I was a guest, and I told them I worked in the attached office complex. They offered me a gift certificate, good for a lunch at their hotel restaurant, but I thanked them and refused. My last mistaken career identity event last month earned me an entire comped weekend, and I didn't want to be greedy. Next we've got, sit around with no job for 3 years and cause me to lose my home? Enjoy thousands of dollars of debt and losing your home. My ex of 7 years for the last 3 years we were together refused to get a job. I covered everything for us during the time, paying for my home and his home, and was slowly losing the race. I also paid for everything we did extra for 7 years together because he always managed to be broke. Anytime I asked him to get a job and help out, he had a meltdown. About 6 months before we broke up, I realized he was a total financial user and mooch. Because of this, I lost about $450,000 in the 7 years I was with him and my home to foreclosure, paying for everything on 2 homes. I also realized he was a borderline personality, bad temper, totally irrational, thinks it's everyone else's fault, no ownership, gaslighting was the worst, etc. So I set out my revenge. He was totally driven by money, mainly status, but really just didn't want to work. He was also incredibly selfish. Whenever I ended up in the ER with migraines, he was nowhere to be found, leaving me nasty messages as to why it was taking so much time to get treated and that he wasn't going to pick me up because he didn't like hospitals. Basically, he was a self-centered, nasty human being. Now the revenge. I came across a company on Craigslist that says they could eliminate a mortgage through some weird legal loophole. I knew it was BS, but they were attorneys that made them look legit. I knew this was the perfect revenge. I told him about the company and that he could buy a new house, and this company would help him get the mortgage released on that and his existing home. He would have a new house and no mortgage on it either. Then he could sell them and make a bunch of money. He bought it hook, line, and sinker. He goes and buys a huge brand new house in Tahoe. Remember the subprime days? Stated income? You just needed a good FICO. He had it. Then he runs up all these credit cards furnishing it, about $70,000. Then he books a cruise for our anniversary to Europe. Soon after I found out I had to work for a new job, so I couldn't go, and he informs me, "Well, I'm still going." So I have to stay home and pay for everything while he goes. Nice, eh? I knew it was time to bail out, and he would do the bailing for me. Sure enough, he fools around on the cruise and cheats on me. Who cares? He comes back leaving his open email on my computer with all these emails spelling out the cheating with some guy on the cruise and how he can't be himself around me. I confront him and he says he wants to break up. I tell him great, and I move out in 2 weeks. But first, he has me sign some bogus agreement to pay for him on the debt on the credit cards. I tell him good luck with that. Credit cards are all in his name. He threatens to take me to court. I tell him go for it. I never hear from him again. I leave him with 2 massive mortgages on 2 homes and $70,000 in credit card debt. Basically, I give him back the financial stress he put me through. He has to foreclose on both homes and magically gets a job soon after. Some 15 years later, he is like 400 pounds, alone, and scamming the state of California out of disability payments. Years later, I am in a loving marriage to a great guy. Our home is paid off and we travel the world. Still can't believe I was so stupid to be with someone so incredibly selfish. That experience made me look for someone who was deeply empathetic, loving, kind, and most of all, a contributor to our relationship, not a taker. And shoutouts to our Regenerals of the day: Madam Rabbit, Skyhawk JD, Bro Rigandig, Travel Guy, and Ann Swan. Become tomorrow's Regenerals by leaving as many Rees as you can in the comments below.